Steve has been studying about nutritional health and feels that it has a large tie-in to a person's psychology. Seeing that our culture's predominant eating habits often lead us contrary to our health desires, he has formed a new way of looking at the practice of eating and embarked on a journey to improve his personal practice. Stephen Myers, the 4 L's of nutrition. The 4 L's of nutrition. Steve Myers.
A man walks into the doctor's office, complaining he had a sore throat for a couple of weeks. Doctor looks him over and then tells him, "All right, I'd like you to go over to the window and stick your tongue in." Doesn't really understand. He walks to the window and sticks his tongue out. After about 30 seconds, he looks over at the doctor, who seems to be absorbed in note-taking. He says, "Doctor, am I done?" I said, "Yeah, you'll be done, you'll be done." The man asked, "Is that going to help my throat?" He said, No. I'm mad at my neighbor." That little tongue, to fellow Toastmasters, has a lot of power. I would suggest that symbolically it's the most powerful muscle in our body, both for what we can say can get us in good favor or in bad favor, but for what goes through that, our palate, our sense of taste, how determining that is on our life. Nutrition is very personal. We could talk about religion, sex, and government and politics here. Probably would go over easily because everyone grew up eating a way that was done in their house. Then they had a circle of friends, and that's what they established, these emotional ties. This is how I eat because it makes me feel this way. Because they have those ties, it's hard to let them go. It's hard to change them later. Even when science comes knocking on your head and says there might be a better way, we have the way we like that. You can look at our menu here. It has a whole section called Baconalia. Bacon's a big one. But our objective here today, or my objective, is to have maybe lower your guard a little bit, take in some ideas. I wanted to approach this by a new angle. Being an engineer, I said, let's break this down. What is really happening here? It came out like this. The Earth is this great living ball, and out of it exudes all kinds of life in the biosphere. The life that comes out of it then creates its own more life, and it perpetuates itself. And the Earth has this natural resources which flow to the life it creates to sustain it and nurture it. Now we, this Homo sapiens, we have this wonderful frontal lobe, and we realize that we have a sophisticated palate, and we can make choices. We can be picky. And it's an act of our will that determines what we're going to be putting through our palate or not. Bacon. I like that with these 3 different points, or 4 different points. I call them 4 L's of nutrition. The first one, L, is loaded. You're going to be eating something, it should be loaded with stuff that's good for you, stuff that fights off the things in the world that are bad for you. You can go down the research, it's been done. I'm not here to talk about individuals. I'm not going to be flicking blueberries at you. You know it's there. It's a lot of documented. There are best practices in each group of foods. There are the foods that outshine the others. What's pretty consistent about them is they work most effectively when they're whole. When science tries to dice them up and extract nutrients and stuff, you lose a certain synergy. And when they're working together, they have a strength that is more powerful than their individual components. When science tries to break down what's in a food, they see all the other nutrients, phytochemicals, and then there's this stuff in the middle that they don't really understand. And when we pretend we know what's best out of it, we pull in the supplements, but we're missing that webbing that held everything together and made it so nutritious for us. Part of the key here is to keep it simple. If you get all excited about a different way of eating and try to jump on board and the bandwagon and wear a t-shirt that says that, that's called a diet. Diets fail because they're imposed upon us. If you have a lifestyle switch and say, I'm going to be looking for what's healthy for me, independent of what Dr. Atkins or Oz or any other wizard might say is the healthiest thing. If you're familiar with the concept of blue zones, there was a research done about where in the world are the people living the longest and living the healthiest. And in those blue zones, there are several key things that indicate that longevity, lifestyle, or sociality. But what's consistent across those blue zones is there's a very strong plant slant. It's very whole foods, and the cluster of foods they eat is high amongst those best. The second L, local. You want to get the things that you know what's in them, the best of your ability. Today in the mass production world, and everything has a big product process to feed the number of people we have on the planet. Got to do it in big quantities, and a lot of shortcuts are taken. Chemical, genetic engineering. If it's not local, you can't be sure what's in that. That degenerate cases, the best way to know what's in your food is to grow it yourself. Not everyone does it. I haven't done that yet, but I see that as an eventuality to know what goes in your food. Third L, living. Living things impart their life energy when you eat them in their living form. When you boil something, or you warp it with heat, or frazzle its DNA in the microwave, you've changed what it is. You've changed what it can give you. And love, our fourth L, is simply love. Your eupepsia, your good night digestion, is enhanced when you receive your food with an attitude of thankfulness, with peace, with an awareness of how your body is using that while you're taking it in. When you're upset and there's an argument at the table and you're trying to eat, or you're rushing down the freeway grabbing a cheeseburger, you're not at peace. That food is not going to physically be broken down and distributed well in your body. The 4 L's. We wear our bodies out by turning them into very indiscriminate food processors. Things that gunk it up, do poor for the wiring, do poor for our organs. I heard from this pulpit here, someone said the person's definition of happiness dictates much of their character. If you're into the short term, the thrills, the bursts of excitement and flavor, you're going to have one definition of happiness. If you're more long term, calculated, preparation, it'll be a different term. Applying that to food, we can lower our expectations for the food thrills. We greatly increase the energy and life the food gives to us. In the words of one of the Blue Zone founders, we, by act of our will and controlling the little muscle in our mouth, can add years to our life and life to our years.